Hello everyone, Christina Werner here. Welcome to another video at my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be using the True Friend stamp set from the Greeting Farm to create a card for my husband actually. You'll see these two stamps at the bottom. There's a girl and a boy, and there are two cats with the girl and one cat with the boy. So I wanted to modify these two images so that they could be together. You know, if you put them together as is, there would be three cats. But I wanted it to represent our two cats. So I'm actually going to be doing some modifications to the stamp images in order to get the image that I want. So I've stamped both images on Altenew masking paper. And then now I'm just going to stamp these two images overlapping on some scratch paper so I can get an idea of how much space I need for when these images are put together. So this is just scratch paper. It's not going to be on my final project, but I could use how these are stamped together as a guide for spacing. So I'm stamping these two together just in some Morning Ink from Simon. The color of ink really doesn't matter at this point. It's just during my planning. So I trimmed out this image so I could kind of move it around and get spacing just right. And then I placed it over the top of some watercolor paper. This is some Fabriano Artistico hot press watercolor paper. I thought it'd be nice to paint it on a very smooth surface, so that's why I'm using hot press watercolor paper. So I'm masking off the side of the image with the girl but the two cats so that one of the cats will not be stamped. So first I'm stamping just the one side with the one cat, and I'm using some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And then I'm taking the masking paper version of that girl stamp that I stamped earlier, and I'm cutting it into two pieces. One's going to have the small little cat, and the other side is going to be the rest of the image. And this is so that I can eventually stamp the boy stamp over top, and it will protect the area with the girl. So now I'm going to kind of puzzle piece in the area where the other cat is. And then I'm going to peel away the side of the large portion of the image, and then I'm going to re-stamp that. I haven't moved my stamp from the door of my MISTI, so I'll be able to stamp this entire area. So now I'm going to stamp it back over the top again, and it's just going to fill in that area that hasn't been stamped yet. So now I've got the full image. I'm going to peel up that area of masking paper, and then I'm left with the image of the girl but without the second cat. So now I'm going to take that mask and put it back over the top, and then I'm going to stamp the boy stamp directly next to it. And that's going to give me the girl and the boy and a cat on each side. So I'm making this card for my husband because currently I'm actually on a British Isles cruise and we are in Dublin today. So the voiceover might sound a little bit different because I'm just doing the voiceover on my laptop instead of my usual microphone. But this is where we're at. This is where I'm editing the video. So I used a Copic multiliner just to fill in some little gaps, some lines that didn't stamp. And now I'm going to go in and start watercoloring this image. I'll be using some Distress ink. I'm just going to smush the mini ink pads down onto a slick surface and then pick it up with a paintbrush. And I'm going to be painting the hair like I would color with Copics. So I'm going to turn on some music and you can enjoy the coloring. So after all of the painting is complete, I moved on to stamping my greeting. I'm using the Just Miss You stamp set from Simon Says Stamp for a nice greeting right below. I actually gave this card to my husband before leaving on this cruise, and I was going to be away from home for a full 2 weeks, so we knew we were going to miss each other. So this was a card that I gave him. I actually hid it on his nightstand next to the bed so that he would find it after I had already left. So I stamped that greeting, and now I use the Circle Illusion 3D embossing folder from Spellbinders to get a nice texture on this white cardstock. I then use Seedless Preserves Distress ink, and I brought in that purple color all around the top kind of frame area of the paper. And then I used Chip Sapphire along the bottom edge. And I went back and forth back to the Seedless Preserves to kind of blend those two colors together. I then trimmed down my painted piece. I had originally thought to have it be most of the card, but then I decided to trim it down so that more of that colorful textured background could be shown. I put some adhesive on the front of my prepared card base and then adhered my textured background. And then I put some foam adhesive on the back of my watercolor piece. And right before I adhered it, I decided to add some white string. So this is white embroidery floss that I've wrapped around a few times, just around the front of the card. And then I tied a bow right in the center, right beneath where that image would go, trimmed off the ends, and here we go. Here is the finished card. So that's how I modified those two stamp images to be together. I hope you enjoyed this card today. I really love those cats. They look so sweet. I love that one on the side. Thanks so much for joining me today. You can check out all the supplies for everything I used today, including the stamp sets and the embossing folder and all that, down below in the video description or in the supply section at my blog. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in another video very soon.